About 25% of the wealthiest Americans on the Forbes list are Jewish, and they make up only 2% of the American population. Why? Because Jews have been bred and raised to be entrepreneurial for thousands of years. They were barred from owning land, trade guilds, and from professions. All they could do was be money lenders and peddlers, i.e. merchants. The dumb ones were either killed in pogroms, or they were very poor and had only 1 or 2 kids. The smart ones prospered and had more kids. Jewish tradition always emphasized the importance of the book, studying and learning, and getting a good education. So there was a bit of evolution whereby Jews ended up having a disproportionate number of their people good at business. Also, since they were the last to be hired and the first to be fired, they leaned towards being independent. That meant owning their own business. It's easier to get rich if you own your own business. Since Jews suffered so much in the pogroms and slaughter of Jews at the hands of Muslims, Christians, etc., they became somewhat immune to ordinary reactions to risk. If taking on a risky investment didn't mean that you would be killed, they weren't scared. So Jews were attracted to more difficult, newer fields of business activity. They went into, nay, invented Hollywood. It's risky to make a movie. They took the risk. It used to be very risky to develop real estate, putting up big bucks before you know if it's going to rent, and you won't get caught in a slump or by higher interest rates by the time you finished your buildings. They took the risk. Jews are disproportionately represented in businesses that pay off big time, such as hedge funds. There's a high risk, high reward in hedge funds. Jews are disproportionately represented among successful poker players. Where else? High-tech software. Google and Facebook and Oracle are all Jewish-owned. Tech pays off big time, but it does have high risk. Jews are also overrepresented in real estate development. You get big payoffs because it's highly leveraged by way of mortgages, so you get a huge bang for your buck. Studies by non-Jewish sociologists and psychologists on global intelligence found that the highest IQ among humans on the planet were 1. Ashkenazi Jews from Eastern Europe, 2. South Koreans. But a high IQ isn't enough. It's the motivation, creativity, and fear of persecution that are factors that create the overrepresentation of Jews among billionaires. I feel that it's also a matter of attitude and belief. Because of the Bible and the unique relationship between Jews and God, I feel Jews believe they have a destiny in the world. It is to survive, thrive, and heal the world. Surviving in this world today takes money. To thrive certainly does. To heal the world takes money. Jews are overrepresented in philanthropy. Accordingly, Jews feel that they have a high probability of succeeding. They are also, historically, a stiff-necked people, stubborn. That means that they persist. They don't quit. So Jews start a business, and they stubbornly persist until it's successful, partly because they feel that they have a destiny of success that is mandated by a higher power. The late evangelical pastor Robert Schuller, of Hour of Power and Crystal Cathedral fame, once asked, "What could you accomplish if you knew you could not fail?" I think that applies to a certain extent to Jews. Their expectation to succeed helps make that a self-fulfilling. Gentile society, and I'm referring here to the Western world, is based on the predatory exploitation of the poor by the rich. You eat your own. Every Gentile kisses the ass of the one above him and shits on the one below. Why keep the minimum wage so low except to make sure the poverty-stricken remain poor? What is the reason for having so many homeless beggars on the streets except to remind working and middle-class wage slaves what will happen if they don't keep their shoulders to the wheel and their noses to the grindstone? Endemic poverty is a feature of Gentile society, not a bug. There's a line in George Orwell's 1984, "If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face, forever." That vision has already been realized. It has been the status quo in Gentile society for thousands of years. Judaism rejects this and always has. Everything from the Sabbath year to the repeated calls for charity to the orphan and the refugee set Jewish attitudes apart from Gentile ones, long before the advent of other Abrahamic religions. It perplexed the Romans and annoyed the Greeks. Especially over the past 2 millennia, the relentless Gentile assault on Jews has forced us into a communitarian approach to existence in which charity is an obligation and education a sacrament. As a result, almost no Jew gets left behind. If they don't take care of our own, who will? So the reason there are so few Gentile billionaires is that you don't want there to be Gentile billionaires, and the reason there are so many Jewish billionaires is that they provide the opportunity and support for Jewish individuals to achieve their potential and become billionaires, or scientists, or artists, or scholars, or rabbis. People talk about self-hating Jews, but the real self-hatred is to be found in the Gentile world. You are eaten up with hatred and envy and self-loathing and brutality. There is much that is admirable in Gentile culture, the architecture, the music, the art, the philosophy, the science. Still, you are doomed to go the way of Babylon or Nineveh unless you can rein in your inner demons and take control of your destiny. Stop trying to blame your misfortunes on others and take a good hard look at yourselves instead. Also, more than 30% of the Nobel Prize winners are Jewish. The reason is extremely simple, and as a passionate Jew who is extremely proud to walk along the Nobel Prize promenade in Israel, I still believe that this statistic will not last by time. Now why? To make it short, because all over the last centuries, 99% of the Jewish population around the world has been fully educated since the age of 4, 5. Hence, when other populations could not read and write, the Jewish people, however, fully mastered at least a basic knowledge through Torah and more specific teachings about commercial laws and rules, property and belonging laws, interest practice and lending, family marriages and divorces, astronomy and spatial systems generally, basic medical or health elementary rules. All of this is because the Torah contains 613 laws that cover all of the day-to-day life to more and most complicated situations, including the annual calendar based on the sun and moon system to decide the full moon and so on. Now what I just quoted here, and that could seem like a heavy panel for at least high school or university level, is what every Jewish boy studies starting 6 or 7 years old, where they do already debate, argue, dispute, oppose legal opinions and logic. This training makes that when one does not wish to follow the usual religious path of rabbinical studies, as he wishes and aspires to have a different lifestyle, what's left to him is to exploit and use his acquired learning skill in another discipline. This trained fellow will turn to philosophy, medicine, science, etc., and do what he knows to do equals sitting and learning. If you add to this component that for centuries they were not allowed to own any belongings such as homes or land, it will explain that Jews has very few options. If not to become a Talmudic scholar or a trader, could be a lender or bankers or a scientist, musician. They used our weakness to make it a strength. Now back to the beginning. Now that the entire world has wide access to the education, they can guess that the advance they took will be diluted, as they are only 13 million versus 7 billion people. Oh yes, I forgot to tell you. The worst insult you can tell a Jew is that he is ignorant. This tells how extensive knowledge and being knowledgeable is what matters most, and is the way to acquire respect and esteem among other Jews. Here's the secret to all secrets within Judaism. There are no secrets. Sorry for shouting. Go to your local library. You will see a vast number of books written by Jews throughout history spelling it all out with incredible specificity. I'm fairly sure that Mossad operatives have to go through enhanced training just to keep a secret. Fortunately, there are a lot of Russian Jews, and Russian Jews can keep a secret, which might have been a secret, and now that one is out of the bag too. Damn it, there is no end to our openness. Here is the other, not so secret. In Europe, Jews were not allowed to own land. They got attacked a lot, whole villages were wiped out, so Jews learned to value knowledge above working with their hands. Not that there aren't plenty of Jews that farm and do manual labor today, it just isn't the cultural norm for us. Knowledge is worth more than things. So, there is the secret spelled out for you.